Make sure to check us out on Letterboxd for written reviews.
for films that we've done not only on the podcast, but outside of the podcast too.
Links in the description below.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Rewatch Podcast. My name is Samuel.
And I'm Jayden.
And this is a podcast where we rewatch classic or current films every week and then decide whether they deserve a rewatch from you. What did we rewatch this week, Jayden?
Well, Sam, we rewatched a bunch of films, but in terms of this episode, we rewatched the
This
Lego
specific
movie.
episode this week
Yeah.
because we are living in an alternate timeline because this will release not this week, it will release next week.
Yeah, that makes no sense to everyone listening, but
Except
whenever
Christopher
you see
Nolan.
it comes out. Except
Christopher Nolan is listening. Christopher Nolan knows what the go is.
Yep.
But yes, what did we watch?
We rewatched the Lego movie.
It was a movie that was released in 2014.
No.
It was directed by... Yes,
2014.
I know. That's ages ago, bro. That's Amazing Spider-Man 2. That's the same time that came out.
What?
2014. That's nuts.
God. Wow.
Hasn't aged one bit. I think it would have just been as big as a success as it was back then if it had released nowadays, you know?
Wow. I'm bringing out my inner Owen Wilson. Wow.
I got to.
Anyways,
Directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. We have done another movie by these two.
Oh my God, is it Into the Spider-Verse?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes. Yeah. So they I don't think they directed that film, but they produced it. You know, they wrote it, I think.
Yeah.
Heavily involved in that. But they were also kicked out of Solo.
That's
I think
right.
they were producers on Solo, and then they've also done like 21 Jump Street or something, and some other sort of lighthearted movies. But yeah, mainly animated films, and I think they've made two of the best animated films in the past decade, to be honest.
I think they've done a pretty fantastic job, yeah.
Yeah, if you take this and then Into the Spider-Verse, I think if you're going to tell me like, you know, top 3 animated movies from like the past sort of 10 years, it's probably like these two got to be up there in terms of the Lego movie and Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
In terms of the cast for this film, we have Chris Pratt.
Holy moly, bro. What is this cast? It's actually insane.
It is insane. We have Chris Pratt as Emmett.
Mm-hmm.
We have Will Ferrell as Lord Business or President Business or the man upstairs, who is the god of the Lego universe. We have Elizabeth Banks as Wildstyle / Lucy. We have Will Arnett as Batman. And we have Nick Offerman as Metalbeard. I won't try and do an impression of that one. We have Alison Brie as Unikitty, and we have Liam Neeson. We have Liam Neeson as bad cop, good cop, and also
he was also in
voices his dad.
The Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Oh no,
no, it was Nick Cage.
That was Nick Cage.
It could have been Liam Neeson though, and I always think it is Liam Neeson.
Yeah, it could go either way.
But I really liked Liam Neeson in this. He's so funny. We have Morgan Freeman.
What?
Just like, what is this cast, man?
This cast
we have
is
Morgan
legendary.
Freeman as Vitruvius, who is like a Gandalf ripoff.
Yep. I like what they did with Gandalf and Dumbledore in that one little scene as well.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. We have Channing Tatum as Superman. Fair enough. We have Jonah Hill as Green Lantern. What?
I remember watching that and I was like, hold up, is this Jonah Hill? And then
I had
and
no
then I looked it
idea.
up, I was like, holy moly, it is Jonah Hill. It's like the smallest little part for such an A-list
Yeah.
actor. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like his on-screen interaction with Channing Tatum as Superman and him as Green Lantern is just so well. It's so well done.
Yeah. We also have Jake Johnson, by the way. So we know him as Spider-Man from Into the Spider-Verse. Peter B. Parker.
Spider-Verse people in here.
Jake Johnson. So he plays Barry. I'm not sure who Barry is.
It's the Barry Allen, wouldn't it be?
Could be. Yeah, maybe, perhaps. We also have the Star Wars cast make a cameo appearance in this, and we actually have Anthony Daniels and Billy D. Williams in the voice roles. Harrison Ford obviously couldn't be asked. So we have Keith Ferguson as Han Solo.
Not to mention like the licensing for some of these characters. I mean, you've got obviously DC, who's owned by Warner Bros, and then you've got Star Wars, which is owned by Disney. So it's kind of like, how did they get these characters together? Because obviously Marvel is the counterpart for DC. It's their licensing franchise. So I'm surprised that they didn't have any of like the Avengers in here. They chucked Warner Bros. DC in here.
Yeah, so now obviously we have like the Lego Batman movie too, which is the full-on DC property.
Unless it was owned, 2015 is that when Disney became in charge of Star Wars? Because that's when the Force Awakens.
They maybe just got the rights, but I don't know, tricky situation to get all these cameos in.
Yeah.
To have Batman and we'll talk about it later, but to have Batman and Han Solo in the same frame is always very fun.
Yeah. Not to mention, like, we've got Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings in there as well. So
yeah, and even some basketball players. We have Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, we've got the NBA.
Yeah, we have Big Shaq.
It's like the Ready Player One of 2014.
Yeah, but it was actually good. Shaquille. So Shaquille O'Neal voices himself. Dave Franco. I mean, bro, like, what on earth? It just keeps on going.
These are all like really profound actors. Like, they're not just like done one role and it was a good movie and they're done. Like, these actors continue to make good films and big films. So it's crazy.
And it's insane too, because obviously this was a brand new idea, but it wasn't the first sort of Lego movie. Like, there has been previous feature-length movies in Lego style. There was the Clutch Powers movie, which is an animated movie as well about just a protagonist who goes about all these different Lego worlds. And there's like the Bionicle movies too.
Nice.
So yeah, man. So it's not the first sort of Lego movie, but this was the real blockbuster. This was the huge one that they're really investing in to sort of create this big franchise, which they have now, because we've had 4. We've had Lego
it's
movie.
kind of a cinematic universe, right?
It is, yeah, it is. So we've got Lego Movie 1 and 2. We've had the Batman. We've also had Lego Ninjago. Have you seen all of them?
I've seen the Lego Movie and I've seen Ninjago, but I haven't seen the other ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Lego Batman one's my favorite, but yes. This movie though, Lego Movie, it changed the game in many ways. It was a very fresh animated movie. We're just talking about with WALL-E. Sometimes the Pixar films can be a bit repetitive, especially of recent time anyway. Sometimes, we get a bit tired of, Nemo 2 and Toy Story 4.
Nemo 2, the disrespect.
And Nemo 2, The Fast and the Furious. But yeah, so I don't know. We've had a lot of sort of dragging animated films.
Yeah.
But this film just came along and just completely blew everyone away.
2014 was a good year, man. Like,
it was.
good films in 2014.
Yes, I agree. But lots of great films in 2014.
Mm.
So, any particular characters that stood out to you? What was your favorite sort of character from the film? And after you say that, I'll give a little synopsis.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say, like, if I say it, you're probably gonna say the exact same thing. Batman. Batman's like
Yeah.
obviously the biggest standout of
Yeah.
this film. Every single
Mm.
line Will Arnett has is just it's just bloody fantastic. Like, there's not a bad line from him. And I hope if I ever get around to watching the Lego Batman movie, it has that same energy that Batman
Oh,
had
it
in this
does,
one.
bro.
It does.
Oh,
Okay, I'm
gosh.
I'm holding you to your word there because I did really like him in this film. But yeah, all of the characters were really good. I didn't really see any faults with them. It was just
Mm.
Will Arnett as Batman was a standout to me.
Yes. Oh, I can't disagree. That Batman is absolutely hilarious.
Mm.
Another standout for me was Morgan Freeman's Vitruvius,
Mm-hmm.
or and Vitruvius. Yeah, that's the right pronunciation.
Gandalf.
I thought he was really funny, really funny. And
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman's voice, man, he's just got such a prestigious voice
Yeah.
that when he says things like "cover your butt," like it's just
funny.
It's not funny when anybody else says it, but when
Cover your
Morgan
what?
Freeman says it, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And he's like, meet me upstairs in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And then he walks into a door. It's just
He's
funny stuff.
kind of like the narrator of the whole film, and it just works so perfectly because he's born to do that. He's like David Attenborough in a way.
Yeah. Emmett, you didn't let me finish before because I died.
Some really good lines from him as well.
So good. All right, so a bit of a synopsis for this movie. An ordinary Lego minifigure, mistakenly thought to be the extraordinary master builder, is recruited to join a quest to stop an evil Lego tyrant from gluing the universe together. There's a bit of a Toy Story element that comes into this film towards the end, because we sort of have, we're introduced to this Lego world. We just accept it. We're just like, okay, the universe is just made of Lego. But then the movie's like, actually, this is like a play set of the kid who's got a father, and the father's really the bad guy. So what did you think of when the story sort of pivoted towards the end from an animated movie to just a Toy Story sort of movie?
It's very similar to what like it's a critique that you had with Wall-E, is that the dialogue could either be interpreted as the best thing of the film or the worst thing of the film, right? And I feel like that's quite similar to this film in a way, because I haven't watched this film in a bit. It's been quite a few years, and I think that the dynamic that they had with the live action and the Lego world, it's really good, but honestly, it was a bit confusing, and it's the first time I've ever picked up on it. It was his son portrayed as Emmett, like, because obviously Will Ferrell was Lord Business, like it's just completely obvious. He's got the red tie, and he's obviously voiced by the same person, so he's Lord Business. But it's interesting what they did with his son when they were kind of flashing back between the Lego world and the real world, in that final scene where Lord Business is walking towards Emmett and then he hugs him. So it's just really interesting what they did with that, and I don't know whether I like it or I hate it. I just feel like it's a bit of a weird dynamic, because it's just strange how his son is portrayed as Emmett, and I didn't quite get that.
Okay, yeah. It's the theme that both of the Lego movies have. They always introduce like a parent or some other, force, or like the sister, towards like the end of the film. They never start it off with a bit of human action. It's always at the very end when they're looking for that nice little payoff. Sort of like the Toy Story-esque payoff. Whereas the other two movies, the Ninjago one and the Batman one, are just fully like Lego adventures. They're just all contained in the universe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I it's funny you say that, because I do think the bringing the parent into it is a bit of a hit or miss sort of thing. and it works. It works for me, but only just. And sometimes it is a bit cringe. In the second one, the mum is really cringe, but in this movie, the dad sort of. We'll talk about it a bit more in detail later, but I feel like the dad has a very quick sort of character arc.
Yeah.
And it's all a bit rushed, I think. Maybe if it was sprinkled a bit better throughout the entire movie, it would have worked better.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I understand, so this kid is playing with all these Lego sets, right? And he's created this character Emmett because he believes that anyone can be special. So this construction worker is going to save the world. And his dad comes in and he's like, "What are you doing? Put all my stuff back. This is not your stuff. Yada yada yada. Bad dad stuff."
Bad parent.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have a bit of a rant about him later on, but just for now.
Yeah.
So from my understanding is this kid has made this villain character as a symbol of his dad, and then he's creating this hero to then sort of defeat him. But eventually then the bad guy just realizes what he's done and goes back on it. So I don't think Emmett is supposed to be the actual kid.
Yeah,
I think
that's what I was thinking.
The kid has made Emmett as his sort of like mouthpiece essentially, but it's not him. It's just like his mouthpiece. Whereas in the actual movie, I feel like, especially when they're switching between the two universes, the Lord Business and the dad are like the same. They're doing the same things. Like they are the same person sometimes. Like when they go give a hug.
Yeah,
but it does get confusing when he hugs Emmett, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think what they were trying to go for is, what you're saying is that Emmett is the mouthpiece for his son. Finn, I think his name is. They predicted Finn before the Force. No, okay. Never mind. Yeah, but I think that they were trying to intend it to be that. And then, when you end up like framing the shots as they're like splicing them together when they're walking together, and then President Business hugs Emmett, it just kind of gets lost in translation because it's weird whether you're trying to portray him as Emmett or whether he's like whether Emmett's like a figure of speech for him. Like it's just a bit of a strange dynamic, and I think it doesn't work for me more than it does work for me, if that makes any sense.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. So you think it would have been better if it was just a self-contained sort of Lego action adventure thing?
No. I do like what they did with the reality and the real world. It's just the relationship between these characters. It's just a bit flawed, and I think they probably could have worked on it a bit more.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So the movie sort of opens with this very epic and sort of mysterious and brooding sort of atmosphere. There's like this lava world. It's very, Mustafar, Star Wars-esque. We have Morgan Freeman. It's sort of like a flashback, and Morgan Freeman's dealing with Lord Business, and he's stealing the Craggle, which is the super glue. Yeah. Oh, I love the puns in this movie, bro.
Yeah.
I'll get to some of them soon.
I wrote down so many of them.
Yes. Oh, it's going to be fun. But then Morgan Freeman says, "Cover your butts." And he's like, "Cover your what?" And then they get, thrown aside. The piece of resistance. That's a pun in itself, right? Of some sort of French thing.
The piece of resistance. I have no idea. That was a really bad accent.
The piece of resistance. But yeah, and then Morgan Freeman says, "I can see everything." And then one of his minion dudes shoots him in the face.
Yeah,
and he's now blind. He's like, "You'll never defeat me. I can see everything."
The movie just makes it makes such quick decisions and really big decisions. It just makes them so quick, like one after the other. But every single one is it's done really quick, but it's done really well. Like I've seen a lot of movies that have tried to do this before, and they've made really harsh and really, really fundamental movie decisions, like killing off a character, and it's just done horribly. But something as big as Vitruvius, like going blind, it's kind of like the equivalent of Nick Fury losing his eye, right? they didn't air that as well as Vitruvius. Like,
yeah.
it does these little things so well. These little nitty jokes and dialogue and these sort of decisions. It just does them so well with this comedic value in them.
Yeah, I find this movie incredibly funny the entire time, and there is a few moments, like I think there's probably 2 moments that I'll touch on as we go that I really do have a good laugh at. So yeah, it'd be fun to talk about them. But let's talk about the visuals for a second. How beautiful does this film look?
I want to get it on 4K, man. I so badly want to get it on 4K.
Yeah, I've got the standard Blu-ray, and it looks incredible. It looks beautiful.
Like how they made all of like the little all of the little defects and everything on the faces, and it's just so much detail in it. And then the lighting as well is just so saturated, so blurred out, and just blowing up on this massive blockbuster level. Like all of the colors are just so poppy. It's just such a beautiful film to look at.
It's a mixture of stop motion and CGI.
But so when they use stop motion.
Yeah, cool. But when they use the CGI, it's they configured they had to create this system because they needed to put actual Lego bricks in there. So every single brick that you see in this film has been constructed from the ground up. Every single piece is a real piece. Like, so it's like a puzzle, like, it's just like playing with real Legos, but like on a screen. So everything is real. Everything makes sense. When Wildstyle, when Wildstyle like builds the car, in that opening chase, she's actually building a car. That car has been built, and she's actually getting all of the pieces, putting them in. It's insane.
And when I was a big fan of, Lego back when this came out, and I actually got that set, the car, like I still remember building the model. It looks identical to what I actually got, like received in person. So the amount of detail and it just work and effort that they put into these models and the animation is it's blowing me away, man.
And that's what makes it so good in those big wide shots, because oftentimes with sort of these blockbuster movies, you can look in the background and you're like, oh, that doesn't look good. Like, that's poor CGI. Yeah. You can tell like they didn't, go the full mile and put some effort into that background CGI. But in this movie, everything is absolutely stunning. All the different worlds, even the city itself, I think looks incredible.
Yeah.
All right, so we open with Emmett. He's going about his daily life. He's obviously been brainwashed.
Good morning, Phil. Good morning, Flora.
Chris Pratt is hilarious, isn't he? Yeah. He really works well with this character, right?
Yeah. He's tethered to this character. I love him so much.
He is this character. He's just himself. He's just sort of perfect casting, really. But yeah, always be sure to keep the soap out of your eye.
Is that one of the moments?
Yeah. No. That's not where I'm laughing, but I just find that really amusing.
There's so many moments in this that is just so funny, man. Like, a lot of animated films just come off as very cheesy. And, if you're one of those people who's like, oh, the Lego movie, nah, it's just a kid's film. Honestly, yeah, it may be a kid's film, but it is so goddamn funny on so many levels.
Yeah, I really think it can be enjoyed by everyone. Even people who perhaps don't really have the nostalgic connection with Legos will enjoy this for just being a fun animated adventure.
It's a really good story as well. Like, it's actually got it's got a spine to the film. It's just not it's just not just basic stuff just thrown on the screen. It's actually got a story to go along with it.
Yeah. And we speak about that a lot. A lot of films, they try to be fun and entertaining, but they miss that, that substance, that really good underpinning story.
Yeah.
But this film has absolutely everything it needs. It has the cast, it has the visual style, it has the uniqueness, like it's a new movie. We've never seen anything quite like it before.
No, never.
great story. It just ticks all the boxes, really.
Yeah.
Honey, where are my hands?
Like, it shouldn't be funny, but it is, man. Why is it funny?
It's the most kiddie humor as well. I think
know.
the style that it's delivered has something to do with it. You know, the timing of it.
Yeah.
There's some great, comedic timing in this film, but it also, I think, just the fact that it's Lego, I don't know. I think that helps the comedy in some way. I'm
These
not
little
sure
brick
how,
built
but
people just saying the weirdest things possible.
yeah, I think it elevates it a bit.
Yeah.
I think, but yeah, I just love when Emmett's, obviously been brainwashed to hell and back. He gets up, he looks at the instructions. What do you do to have a good morning? It was giving me 1984 vibes of just like a society that's been completely brainwashed, and it's a bit of a dystopia. Yeah. But everything is awesome, guys. Everything is awesome.
What a great song. I think it's a given that it's going in the Rewatch playlist, right?
Yeah, it already is in the Rewatch playlist.
Nice.
Nice. I couldn't find the official soundtrack, though. I had to find a sort of like a rip-off version, but it's still in there. But absolute banger of a song, mate. Oh, really, really good. And it's sort of like the movie itself. It's sort of like a song that you feel like you shouldn't really enjoy. Like it's a bit, a bit kiddie, a bit weird, but it's just such a banger. I just love it.
Yeah.
He's going about his day, Emmett, and he's saying hi to everyone. And he's like, hey, Surfer Dave. Surfer Dave's like, hey, brah. Hey, brah. And when he's going through all the cats, he's like, Jeff, meow.
Meow.
Liam Neeson as bad cop comes in. I think he is really funny. Liam Neeson's great, and his voice has worked really well with this sort of character, don't you think?
Yeah, did he voice both sides of it?
I think so. No one else is credited, I think, for good cop.
If so, that is bloody fantastic. Like when he switches to like the when he draws on his face is like the second version of the good cop, and he's like, hey guys.
Yeah, it is him. Okay, he's doing both.
Fantastic. Yeah, real good stuff.
Yeah, incredible how he switched between the two, and even when he was the bad cop rather, just the intensity that he brought is just really, really funny.
Yeah,
because it's great contrast. Emmett's sort of comedy, he's sort of like a dumb person. He makes dumb jokes, but he only works if you have like a really serious character to contrast him with.
Yeah.
And so in that scene where bad cop is sort of interrogating Emmett, it's just really funny because bad cop is this super serious, super strict, not a good dude. And Emmett's like this innocent fellow who's just, cracking jokes, but he doesn't think he's cracking jokes. He's just saying things that we think are funny. But
I wrote down this at one point, and I can't remember where it happened in the film. I think it was when they were building the bike, and Wildstar was like, build something or something, and then Emmett's like, he says something along these lines. He's like, what do I do? I don't have my instructions. It's a really clever line because it sets like his personality in play. Like he's this dude that follows all of the rules. He's really the golden citizen, but he's also very, very, very stupid at times. He doesn't have to rely on his instructions, obviously. And I just think that's a really clever and funny line.
Yeah, because this society has been brainwashed to follow the instructions. We have this big corporation that is headed by President Business called Octan.
Yeah.
And they make the following things, okay? They make the music.
Yeah.
They make dairy products. They make coffee. They make TV shows. They make surveillance systems. They make all history books.
All history books.
And they make voting machines.
Bro,
Goodness
all the
me.
history books ones gets me every time. I find that so
Just
funny.
those last three: surveillance systems, all history books, and voting machines.
Bro, voting machines. It's the most dictatorial thing you've ever heard.
Exactly, bro. I don't think North Korea is this bad.
It's
Actually,
kind
I'm
of like
sure it
when
is.
Putin announces every year that he's going to be the next whatever president of
Yeah.
Russia or whatever.
It's like, so yes, congratulations on the victory in the election. I'm sure it was very fair and I'm sure he didn't tamper with it whatsoever.
Yeah.
No, it's funny stuff. I really love that sort of humor. Like the kids won't pick up on that, but the adults
definitely
will.
not. Yeah.
Do you feel like there's an element to that in the entire film, just like the humor?
100%. It's a lot like Shrek. It's made for all ages. Anyone can enjoy it, and yeah, I just love films that are able to carry both generations of people. So you could be an adult watching this with your kid, which many films just fail to capture that. And I think that's probably the overarching problem I have with Soul, is that it was marketed as an adult film, and many people think it as adult film, but I don't know. I feel like the route that film took was just a bit childish for my liking.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I agree. The humor in this film works for everyone. I think the kids will like more of like the dumb humor, like when Emmett's like when Vitruvius says, "Emmett, use your instincts," and then he puts together two bricks and he throws it at the he puts together two bricks, throws it at the oncoming sort of onslaught of enemies, and it does absolutely nothing. Like the kids will find that funny, whereas sort of the older audience will find the fact that Octan make all history books and voting machines quite funny too.
Yeah.
So I always like that, when they have regard for everyone. Everyone gets a sort of, everyone gets serviced in this movie.
Yeah, yeah. And it's kind of the same deal, if I hadn't already mentioned it, with what we felt with Shrek. Like it's got a lot of those underlying adult themes in it, which we wouldn't have picked up on as kids, which I think we mentioned. And the same goes here. I mean, when I was a kid, that line just went completely over my head. But now that I've watched the film again, it's just so funny to me that they have all these little innuendos and everything.
Yeah. That's, when I rewatched it, I obviously didn't pick up on a lot of the jokes even in 2014. But now I can really listen to the dialogue and really take it all in and just enjoy those little nuggets. There's quite a few of them in this movie. I'm sure we'll get to a lot more very soon. So I think go ahead.
I just wanted to point out this real quick before we move on, because I think it was right at the start. And if we're going in chronological order, I'll chuck it in now. So when I think it's Wildstar was taking us through all of the different realms, and there's a few that stood out to me. So we have Middle Zealand, whatever that is. And then another one that I saw was Bionicle. So
yes, if anyone represent
Bionicle, well, let's go.
That is nostalgic for me, son. I love my Bionicles, especially the Hero Factory ones. They were very nostalgic for me.
Yeah,
that was the best.
Yeah, good stuff.
At one stage, I think in terms of where we are in the plot, I think Emmett's like sort of been captured, and he's been captured by Bad Cop, and Wildstar's busting him out, or about to, and the Bad Cop's interrogating him, and he's saying like, "Oh, are you the special?" And Emmett's like, "Oh, I'm not special. Ask my friends." And it sort of goes through this montage of like Emmett's sort of colleagues or whatever.
Yeah.
And the one that I thought was the funniest was the coffee man, the barista.
Oh, yeah.
The camera's on him, and the coffee man's like, "Oh, he's just sort of a blank slate, I guess." and then it sort of trails off, and the movie sort of pivots over, and then quietly in the background you hear, "That'll be $42."
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, which is funny because it's even more than what Emmett paid. Emmett paid what, $37?
Yeah.
So they're upping the price.
Overpriced coffee, man. Take it to the extreme.
Yeah.
$42. Wow, that's a very expensive coffee. But hey, everything is awesome. Remember, can't doubt society.
Yeah.
Can't question society.
The themes in this film are just really good. Like, they're hidden, so a lot of kids wouldn't understand them, but they're really, really good.
Yeah. I've written the action scenes look phenomenal. That's, I think, in reference to the opening chase with Bad Cop and Wild Style and Emmett.
Yes.
Often in sort of the animated movies, when action happens, it sort of just becomes a bit of a blur, right?
Yeah.
But in this movie, it's so precise. Every brick.
Yeah, and I think definitely having this brick, as they would call it, a system interlocking or whatever it is, it kind of helps it in a way, because obviously, you've got all the sharp edges of the bricks. So it in a way, it kind of helps the animation style because it's a lot more distinct and you can see what's happening. But yeah, we can't just rely on that for making a good action sequence. I mean, the cinematography and the choreography of the fighting is really well done as well.
Yeah, and because they do a lot of fast movements too. The Lego sort of fighting style is sort of like the Master Builder style. You know how they go into this like ultra speed sort of flash-like mode.
Yeah.
So it's all very fast, and so it could be very easily just become a big blur, but it doesn't. No. You can always see what's going on. So got to appreciate that. One of the funniest moments in the film for me is when Bad Cop he loses them. He Wild Style and Emmett, they fly off.
Yeah.
And Bad Cop's just there, and there's a chair.
Did you see the guy put the chair down?
Did he put the chair down?
Yeah, there's no chair there. And then when he loses them, this robot comes in and puts the chair down for him.
So he kicks the chair once, and then you're like, all right, surely we're going to cut away.
Yeah.
And he kicks it again, and then again and again. And then you see the distance, there's this minion, and he's running away for some reason. And then he kicks the chair up into the sky, and you just know it's going to land on that guy who's running away. And eventually it does. And it's just funny.
It's such a fulfilling moment. It's kind of what they did. If you remember anything about Elf, Jon Favreau's Elf, there's a scene where they're throwing snowballs at these kids in the park.
Oh, yeah.
And there's this kid that's running away, and Will Ferrell's character, very ironic here, he gets the snowball and he lobs it, and he's really far away, and it ends up hitting the kid and he falls over. It's very similar to what's happening here.
Yeah. No, very, very satisfying moment, very funny moment for me. I enjoyed that one very much.
Yeah.
Also, when Wild Style asks Emmett, she realizes he's not the special. And so to test him, she asks him some basic questions, what's your favorite song? And of course he says, everything is awesome. And then she says, what's your favorite restaurant? And then he says, any chain restaurant. Yeah. It just shows the capitalistic brainwashing that has gone on here. Your favorite restaurant is any franchise.
It's really funny that they decided to make the most generic person be the special, which I think is a really, really good message. And there's another funny line to go along with that. I don't know where it happens in the film. But I think they lose Emmett in Wild Style, and then President Business calls Bad Cop, and Bad Cop's like, President Business, we are trying to locate the fugitive, but since his face is so generic, he is hard to locate.
Yeah. He's coming up on every scanner or something.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Very logical too. Very logical. Yeah, because there would be a lot of other people who look exactly like him, because visually he's a generic construction worker.
Yeah.
Just what the dad thinks he is. Very funny stuff. It's just a very fun movie for me. But yeah, I noticed Bionicle because I've got shout out to Bionicle in my notes here.
Mm-hmm.
Love a bit of Bionicle action.
Yep.
The cloak of Band-Aid.
Yeah, I like how
Which
they
is
brought
the
in all of
cloak.
these like real elements into the film. You know, they've got the craggle
Yes.
and the cloak of Band-Aid and what was it? The nail polisher or something. I don't know.
Robots, bring me the fleece-crested scepter of QT
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the polish remover of Nail.
Oh, it's so good.
It's just, how do you make something that's just so ordinary and could just be a boring line
Yeah,
into something that's just so funny
yeah.
and entertaining? It's just hilarious.
Mm.
But yeah, what did you think of the scene where President Business is terrorizing bad cop's parents? And he's like, it's okay, son. How are you going in the big city?
Dude, it's so evil. It's so bad.
Poor innocent parents, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a very funny scene too.
Mm.
But yeah, also demonstrating that this villain is quite evil.
Let me just say for the record, there's no point in this movie that felt like any dialogue was cheesy. Every single bit of dialogue was just hit the nail on the head for me. I felt like it was perfect.
For sure. Was there any time in the movie where you think like it sort of dragged for you at all?
No, not really. And I think
Nice.
that's kind of lent to it's probably, you know, the ADHD grab, how the film just keeps on moving on, like it's non-stop. Like there's
sure.
no point where the film just, you know, it's a big break. Every single like 5 minutes there's some bit of action happening, you know, whether it's a bar fight scene or whether it's a motorbike chase or a massive ship coming out of nowhere. Something big happens every 5 minutes, and it just grabs your attention, man, because it's just something new to look at.
For sure. It is sort of like, you know, those very good animated movies, you know, they just non-stop, but then at the same time doesn't feel like it's rushing, you know? It's just consistently entertaining, very well paced, I think for the most part anyway. I think sometimes like towards the end of the film, I'm like, okay, especially like when their dad comes in, I'm like, all right, maybe this is a bit draggy for me. Maybe this could have been better structured or whatever. But most of the time, I'm just having a consistently great time
It's just
throughout the entire.
time. Yeah. I think, I definitely think the end scene is, you know, one of the bigger critiques that I have with the film. And, you know, I do respect them for trying something different, and I think it could have worked. It was just probably handled a bit poorly.
Yeah, fair enough. Morgan Freeman Wizard. He comes in, he's playing the piano, even though he's blind.
I love the piano rendition of Everything Is Awesome.
Yes. Yeah, in the bar.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks so cool. And everyone's like just going around punching each other and just like so many sort of different criminal offenses going on in that one scene.
Yeah, it's
just
very it's very spaghetti western in a way. And they probably took notes from some of those classic films, which I think is very, very clever.
And I loved how the film took us to all of these sort of biomes. You know, we had the city theme, which is a big thing in the Lego world, you know, Lego City. And then you have, you know, the Western and the Knights. And then you have,
so that's where all of the different worlds came in. That's where Bionicle was.
Yeah. That's where it came in when they were sort of showcasing all of the biomes. But yeah, and then even the Lego movie does this very well. By, you know, I guess at the end of the day they're advertising their own products, but I shouldn't give them too much credit for it because I'm sure they're very interested in showing you all of the different things that they offer to sell.
Yeah.
But yeah, and especially in the sequel too, because the sister comes in, and even at the end of this film, the sister Lego comes in, and it's Duplo, so it's like the
bigger,
even younger version.
Yeah, the bigger books.
Yeah, which is really cool, and you also have like the Lego friends come in the second film too. But I
Mm-hmm.
really like how the film draws on every single aspect of Lego, even the space stuff.
It
There's
doesn't
even the
forget
space
about them,
phone.
right? And
Mm,
I think when it was going through the different themes and the different realms, there was some realms in there which Lego originally started as. Obviously, the company started as a like a wooden toy manufacturer, but
yeah.
some of those really early Lego themes, it didn't shy away from showing the audience, which I think is very good.
For sure, for sure. Batman comes in next.
Yes,
What an entrance! Um,
darkness.
oh my gosh,
No
that song.
parents.
Super rich. Kind of makes it better.
Oh god, he's so good, man.
This could have gone horribly wrong. Like
Yeah,
this was a real risk with the
yeah,
Batman character, um, because Batman is a beloved character, and the source material for Batman, it makes you take him very seriously.
hmm
He's an orphan. His parents were murdered. It's all very dark and serious.
mm.
Then here comes in Lego Batman and just like makes the whole thing incredibly hilarious.
Yeah. It's such a good take on the character. It's such a refreshing take on the character because, obviously, the last sort of interpretation we'd seen from Batman, in terms of live action, and everyone had saw was Christian Bale's Batman, 2009, 10 Dark Knight
12,
Rises. Was it 12? Oh,
12,
wow.
yeah.
Yeah, 2012. So 2 years later, we get this really, really hilarious version of Batman, and then 2 years before that, we get this brooding vigilante, Christian Bale's Batman. So it's
Mm,
just flipped the script, and it's completely changed the character, but it works so well.
yeah, yeah. Especially, I mean, when did this movie come out? 2014. So that would have been 2 years before Batman v Superman. Oh, right. So,
Mm.
and then even in Batman v Superman, Batman very, very dark, very
Yeah,
depressed,
yeah.
very angry, not a funny character at all.
Mm.
But here comes Batman, comes in and steals the whole movie, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
I gotta watch the Lego Batman movie now.
Bro, honestly, it's like Batman is the best part about this movie, and the humor that he brings is essentially the entire
Okay,
Batman movie.
okay. You got me excited for
So
it.
I think yes, yeah, I think you're sold.
Nice.
But yeah, I really enjoy the Lego Batman movie, and I really enjoy just this Lego Batman interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
It could have gone very wrong. Will Arnett is quite good at voicing Batman. In this film, he does less of a sort of like a grumble, like so he doesn't put as much pressure on his voice in
Yep.
this film as he does in the sequels.
Okay.
Um, and because he does that, I can actually hear that it's Will Arnett
Oh
in
yeah.
this movie, and so people would know Will Arnett from Arrested Development. I think is probably his most famous thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but obviously, that's a comedic sort of series. He's quite funny in that. He's hilarious in this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in terms of his voice, I can hear that it is Will Arnett, but obviously that Batman voice, he nails the sort of the grumble, I'm Batman, sort of,
Yeah. Yeah.
without making it too cheesy.
Yeah, and I think
Um,
a lot of people really fail to capture what Batman's voice should sound like. I think Christian Bale does a pretty job of it. He's not the
yeah, I think it
best.
was good in Batman Begins. It was good in Batman Begins, but then it got a bit ridiculous, didn't it?
Yes, yeah, I tend to always skip Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises, so I kind of sit in the middle with The Dark Knight, and that's all I really see.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but many people fail to do that, and oh god, his name isn't coming to me right now, but obviously the Arkham games. Um, I would
Oh,
say
Kevin Conroy, is
Kevin
it?
Conroy is probably my favorite interpretation of the character's voice, but Will
Same.
Arnett does a fantastic job as well.
Yeah, I got to agree with that. I was thinking like would it have been better if we had Kevin Conroy? I think it would have been worse because Kevin Conroy's not a comedian,
No.
and Will Arnett is a funny guy.
Yeah.
So I
I
think
think it was a real good
perfect.
casting decision. Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, I think we're about to crash into the sun. Yeah, but it's going to look really cool.
Yeah.
And then they crash into the sun, and then it leaves a perfect bat signal or
Yeah.
bat symbol. So funny, great.
Real good.
But yeah, I think that sort of brings us to the land of references, which is Cloud Cuckoo Land.
Cloud Cuckoo Land.
Which is this incredibly vibrant, looks incredible.
That's what I want to see on 4K, right?
screen.
Imagine seeing that
Yeah.
on 4K resolution.
Yeah.
So good.
It does look awesome. But yeah, so that's when we get, Superman and Green Lantern. And Green Lantern's like to Superman, "Hey, Superman, you want to sit next to each other at the meeting?" And Superman's like, "I have to go back to Krypton."
Yeah.
He's like, "Didn't Krypton blow up?" And then it's so funny. You see Superman fly to the left of screen. He flies out of the picture.
Oh, no. Does he fly back in?
And as a second later, he flies right back into the hall, like right in front of the camera. And it's like, you just flew out there, came back, and sat down. That's hilarious.
I love that dynamic so much. It's very, very subtle, but it's so well done.
Yeah, and it's not a thing that actually is in the comics. They've just taken like the initiative and just made that funny.
Yeah.
Because Green Lantern's a very, he might sound like quite a dorky character, but especially the Jon Stewart version is very, very intense and very, very, I don't know, very badass.
Yeah.
Especially in what I've seen of him.
Yeah.
He's very like Batman in a way. Very serious, not to be messed with.
No.
And Superman Green Lantern isn't like this in the comics, but this is just funny. Like, and I'm not going to be the person that's like, it's not comic accurate, so it's bad. It's just a Lego movie.
Stuff it if it isn't comic accurate, right?
Yeah.
Look what it gave us.
It's very funny, very funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've just written like, as soon as you get to that dog palace or whatever, because they're like, meet us in the dog, and it's just wholly references. Did you catch any of the references from all the different Lego figures there?
Yeah, I mean, you've got Cleopatra. I think we saw Shakespeare in there. Dumbledore, Gandalf. I think Abraham Lincoln was in there as well. The swamp monster was in there from I can't remember, Monster Hunters Lego theme maybe. Who else did we have? Obviously, we had Shaq from the NBA Lakers in there.
Yeah.
So many iconic characters. I don't know how they did it. Wonder Woman. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I picked up on.
Yeah, just incredible. Holy references. So much to look at. But yeah, I think it's just really funny where Morgan Freeman's character, he's like, and the special will now make an eloquent speech.
Yeah.
And then Emmett comes up and he gives his speech, and there's some really inspiring music, really uplifting music to it. Like, he's giving a really good speech. He's really lifting everyone's spirits.
Mm-hmm.
But everything he said, he's like, I am not prepared for this job.
Yeah.
In fact, I am not even that smart. And
he's
the
just
music's
underselling
just
himself.
building.
Yeah.
He just keeps on degrading himself, and they're like, wait, this is supposed to be making us feel better.
Yeah.
But the music is like, this is the most inspirational speech you've ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Mm.
So the music has to be credited for aiding the humor in that instance,
Yeah.
Mm. There's another pun of machine gum, which is the machine gun / chewing gum.
Oh God! Is that what they stuck Superman with? Oh, and then Green Lantern
chewing gum.
Green Lantern's like, "Don't worry, Superman, I'll come save
you." And then get stuck.
Yeah.
I super hate you.
I love the line from from Shaquille O'Neal here. He's like, "It's game time. Y'all ready for this?" And then he like throws the board. He's like, "Oh no, they're ready for that." I think that's great.
And they had the basketball music. I don't know where that sort of track is from.
Yeah.
Yeah, very funny. And it's like a 10-second sequence, but so funny.
Yeah.
And so like the movie just completely pivots and just like full focus on this for 10 seconds. Good payoff, good joke, move on, done. It's like, I don't know. I've never seen humor handled with such sort of expertise in an animated movie. I don't think.
Never done before. I've never seen it before. It's handled so well in this. Yeah.
Yeah, Batman's very useful in this sort of battle that goes on here as well. He puts the tracking device that was on Emmett, sticks it onto a batarang, and then he throws the batarang onto an evil minion. And the evil minion, like, obviously runs off and distracts Lord Business. So, you know, Batman doing Batman work. Very cool. And I don't know if you watched him when he was in the background sometimes, but he was always like sort of
doing something,
moving around like he was doing a stealthy sort of operation.
Okay,
He was always like clinging to the walls, like checking the place out, like zoning the place. You know, always assessing, you know, where they are and how to get out and stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that was cool. Anything else that you liked from the movies so far?
Yeah,
you want to touch on?
I really like the micromanagers' voices. Micromanager. It's so good. Yeah.
And a lot of the effects in this movie are like just voices, because obviously this kid, Finn, is playing with all these things. You know, when you're playing with Lego, you know, when a ship's flying by, you're like, like
that's
you're making all the noises.
I never thought about that, but like when Benny's flying through and everything is like shoo, or when they do those massive wide pan shots. You know, for example, when the Metalbeard's ship's like going away from the Octane Tower, is like that would be Finn making those sounds. Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, and sometimes when they shoot guns, they're like pew pew, like they make someone actually saying pew pew.
That's really clever.
Yeah, so when you're expecting like a big explosion, like actual sound effect, and sometimes there is an actual sound effect, but a lot of the times it's just like a kid voice in, you know, that engrossed in that sort of play element. They're just, you know, making all the noises, the, you know, zhung, zhung, you know, pew pew, sort of all that sort of sound effects that kids would do as they sort of play with Lego, which is really cool. I really love those little details.
Yeah. No, that's really clever.
They scale it up to like 11 in the sequels too. There's a lot of, you know, pew pew pew, and you know,
really?
lots of other sound effects like that.
I've heard the second one isn't as good.
It's not as good, no. But I still enjoy it, though. I still enjoy it.
Okay.
But yeah, how good's Batman? Oh, sorry, go on.
I was gonna say, if this is after what you were just gonna talk about, can we talk about Star Wars in this? Or is
it's just coming up. Go for it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Go for it.
How on earth did they get the licensing for Star Wars in this? Like,
no
idea. But yeah, I think it
was the music too.
Yeah, exactly right. It the amount of money that they would have just poured into this, I couldn't even fathom how much it would be. But yeah, I like how you know, obviously Batman's trying to get the hyperdrive for the Octane cruiser or whatever it is. And then it obviously flashes back to the scene from the Empire Strikes Back, where they're on the moon in that massive Earth slug. It goes out to reach him, and it's taken straight from the film. Like it's accurate.
It's the exact same shot.
Yeah, it's the same shot. But this time he's like, "Come on, Chewie, hit the hyperdrive," and then they just get eaten because it doesn't start.
Yeah.
So good.
Some serious ramifications for the Star Wars timeline there.
Yeah.
If you think, you know, they all die right there, at least Han Han, C-3PO, Chewbacca, and Lando all die in that Millennium Falcon, then I don't know. It's all up to Luke Skywalker to bring down Palps, and he's certainly going to be a bit understaffed. So Batman has caused large-scale ramifications for the Star Wars timeline.
Is it canon?
Yeah. I love the Batman thing where he's like, it's not like a big gigantic ship is going to come out of nowhere and save us. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
And then he's like,
he cuts himself off.
Yeah. It's like, what? You think a spaceship is just going to appear out of the blue? Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
You've got to be kidding me!
Really clever writing.
I love how Batman, seeing Batman hang out with Han Solo and Lando is just, I don't know, something special about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Lando says to him, "Where'd you get that sweet space cape, brother?"
Because obviously Lando's obsessed with capes. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It just makes me happy, Batman hanging out with Han Solo, but then he comes back and he rips on him. He says they're lame.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, they're all dudes. The metal ones are dudes."
Yeah. Turns out the hairy one's a dude, and the droid, and this plays space checkers.
Yeah, great Star Wars references there.
Yeah. It shows that they've done their research. Like they genuinely care about the source material when they're writing the film. It's not a company that's just trying to make a money grab, even though it was a money grab. It did it seamlessly while pleasing the audience, which you don't see a lot of nowadays with film companies.
Yeah. I tell you, there's a few funny moments coming up, and some of these moments do make me laugh out loud. The first one is the first try one, where they start this heist, because the latter third of this movie is sort of like a heist movie. They have to break into the evil lair and go through all the obstacles to get the Craggle, or put the piece of resistance back on the Craggle. But so Batman pulls up in the car, and I don't know, it's very similar to in Dark Knight when Joker's in the car and there's a guy in front of him and you can't see the Joker, and then he pops out and just goes bang. I don't know, something I just noticed then. But so Batman, there's a button that Batman needs to hit, and he throws like 27 batarangs at the button, and then like on the 28th go he hits it and he goes, "First try." Just the seriousness of how he says it and how the line is executed, I just love it.
Yeah, such a good portrayal of the character. I don't remember it being this good, but I have heard you like talking about how good it was prior to watching this film, and I was like, is he being serious? And I'm like, when after I was like, oh my god, this is a really, really good portrayal.
Yeah. Oh no, I love it.
Yeah.
Definitely up there in the top tiers of the Batman.
Somehow, right? Somehow it is.
Yeah. That's funny.
Can we just backtrack a bit real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
There's this one scene where they're planning on how to get into the Octane Tower. Oh no, it might have been. No, it's the scene where they're on the submarine and they're all like doing their own thing, and Batman's like, sometimes I work in black and very, very, very dark gray.
Yeah.
Anyways, and then and Emmett's like, "Oh, I know what I have to do," and then they're all like standing in the hull of the ship, and then it like quickly pans over, and Emmett's like standing next to his double-decker cab. Bro, I cracked up laughing. Like that was one of the times in the film where I genuinely laughed out loud because it's just the way that it panned over, and Emmett's like so proud of his creation.
And Batman's like, "What?
Yeah.
Is that?"
Yeah.
Yeah, but then it saves them all, his
exactly.
Creative ideas.
Yeah, and
Morgan Freeman's like,
Vitruvius,
yeah, go for it.
He's like, what does he say? We need more ideas so dumb as yours because they
Yes, yeah,
fly over their
yeah.
heads or something like that.
Yeah. I think it's the pirate man. Actually, he comes in and he's like,
Oh, yeah,
"We
this
need
dude.
ideas that are so bad and so useless that they're overlooked by
Yeah.
Lord Business."
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, thanks, I guess.
It actually makes a lot of sense though.
Yeah. Another really funny moment for me is Vitruvius's death. That's just so funny.
And then
The
when
way
he
he
comes
gets
back,
decapitated, the way he gets decapitated first, like he's facing towards the camera, he's got his back to the evil bad guy.
yeah,
You think they're gonna have like a powerful battle or something. Just throws a coin,
yeah,
just knocks his head off,
yeah.
right off.
Like
And
it's
he's like,
dark, right? Like just
yeah,
decapitation in a straight up children's film, but obviously
yeah,
they're able to do that because it is, Lego, so they can get away with
yeah,
it. But it's some
yeah.
dark stuff, man.
It's like, my sweet Emmett, come closer.
Yeah, yeah.
There is something about the prophecy that I must tell you. I made it up. It's not true.
Dies.
Emmett, you must listen. What I'm about to tell you will change the course of history. Dies.
I love when he comes back as well and like goes to Vitruvius form. And then it's like something you can just tell someone's like holding a string, like playing with him. It's definitely the kid as well, which is really funny.
Yeah.
And the noises that he makes, he's like, ooh.
Yeah. And it's Morgan Freeman. Like it wouldn't be funny if it was anybody else, but it's Morgan Freeman doing
just
it.
Picture like Morgan Freeman just like standing and like talking into Mike. He's like, ooh.
Oh, I want to be in that room.
Yeah.
Doing all the he's like, Emmett, you didn't let me finish earlier because I died.
It just seems like it would have been such a fun time in the casting room with all these people when they were recording. It's just such a good dynamic with the rest of the cast.
For sure. And I feel like a lot of these lines would have been recorded individually too. Like I know Chris Pratt, like I watched a bit of special features and I saw a clip of him and the only person in the room with him was the directors.
Oh, really?
And he's just in there because a lot of like sound footage of like these animated movies are captured solely by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But then occasionally they'll bring in another cast member to sort of get that chemistry.
Yeah.
Like in Into the Spider-Verse, they brought in Miles Morales and Jake Johnson's Spider-Man to do their scenes together. But most of it is captured solely by themselves. But the chemistry is so good between everyone.
That's really good stuff.
Yeah, so that's a credit to the directors, I think. But I don't know if you noticed, but at one stage, Wildstyle's giving this inspirational speech about Emmett, and there's footage of Emmett in his pajamas at his house.
Oh, really?
And it's security footage. It says like at the
Whoa.
top left, like, so it says like at the top left, like surveillance footage.
Really?
So that's like a bit of a dark insight into this sort of dictatorship that's going on.
That's creepy. That's kind of really.
It is a bit creepy.
Yeah. I like when Wildstyle was doing the speech and she's like, "You don't know me, but I'm on TV, so you can trust me."
Yeah. Even though like Lord Business was on TV just before, and nobody could trust him.
Yeah, but everyone
and then she comes in and she sees the show and he's like, "Honey, where are my pants?" And she's like, "Oh, look, here's your pants. Season over. Goodbye."
Yeah.
Very good stuff. Love it. Oh, the funniest moment in the movie for me.
Here we go.
Is this little blue man who is obsessed with building spaceships, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the start of this movie, there's an opportunity for him to do so. He starts to build it, and then people are like, "No, we don't need a spaceship." And he's like, "Oh, okay." Big sad.
Yeah.
And then about midway through the movie, there's another opportunity to build a spaceship, but they don't need it again. So he says, "Oh, that's okay." And he destroys it again. And then In the third time, he says, "I'll build a spaceship," and then nobody tells him
Nobody
to
says
stop,
anything. Yeah.
and he's like,
Spaceship?
"Spaceship!"
Yeah.
And he goes on this absolute rampage
Yeah.
of like building this spaceship, and then he goes and like destroys everyone, and every time he
Yeah.
blows something up, he's like, "Spaceship! Spaceship!" That is the one moment where I am absolutely laughing my head off,
Yeah.
because the voiceover of them flying around, he destroys people. It's a fast action scene, but every single time, spaceship,
Yeah,
spaceship.
yeah. It's really good, eh?
So good.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely hilarious, because they built it up too. That's a joke that they built up throughout the course of the entire movie.
Because it had a punch to it,
Masterfully.
right? It had been built
Yeah.
up so much that when it finally hit,
Yeah.
it felt like it was worth it because it'd been through everything to build up to this moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if you have any other notes, but it's at this point in the story where it sort of becomes a Toy Story movie,
Mm-hmm.
where Emmett sort of jumps to his death and then enters the real world. You know, he sort of becomes like it is Toy Story essentially. You know, we have the dad sitting down and Emmett's trying to move, and the dad's like, "Wait, did that Lego figure just move?"
Yeah.
And then he looks back. But I don't know. Did you have any other notes you wanted to cover from that point, or?
Yeah, just a few like overall notes. I think Emmett's speech to President Business in the Lego form, I think that was really well done.
At the end there?
Yeah, how he's like he says something along the lines of you are the special or something like that. And it really goes a long way because I definitely think it's a message that kids will understand, and they'll be able to understand that that you don't have to be anyone special. You don't have to be Superman. You don't have to be Wonder Woman, Batman to be special. Emmett is just some ordinary person, and he's the special one, or President Business is this bad guy, and he's the special one. And I think it's a really strong message, and it fits really well into a kids film, and it's just really, really good writing, and it kind of makes me ashamed with what they did with the live action, because they didn't need it, and I definitely think it drags the film down a bit.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just a shame that they went that route, and they could have nailed it, but they didn't, and yeah, I'll forgive it because every other element of the film is pretty much perfect. But yeah, it's always worrying when films build up such a great first and second act, and then in the third act they can't get it right, and they can't get it down as well as they should have.
Okay, let's talk about this dad for a second.
Mm-hmm.
I try not to swear for editing purposes, but my goodness, what an absolute not a good dad. What,
bro?
I hate this guy.
It's so bad.
He comes in and he's like, he has this massive Lego world.
Yeah.
But then he wants to keep it all the same. And I'm sorry, but if you collect that much Lego, you're going to be... the best part about Lego is either building with it or playing with it.
Uh-huh.
And I'm sorry, but if you have that much Lego, you're going to be a fan of both of those things.
I know.
You're going to be a creative person. You're going to be... You're not going to be this business guy who collects Lego just to put it on the shelf and look
Never
at it every
again.
now and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not how it goes, guys. Like, Lego is a hands-on, you build it, you play with it, you have fun with it. You can look at it and, make it look presentable and everything. That can, a lot of people are very into that.
Yeah.
But if you're a dad, I don't know, it sort of changes everything, mate. Like, come on. What are you doing, son?
It's good that they finally left it on a good note, and he's playing with his son, and they're building all of these cool creations. And another cool thing they did is I think they actually ran like a competition to get some stop motion animation in here from Lego fans, and Lego fans came
Oh,
together and
yes.
they chose it. That's when you saw like that horse being built, that wooden
Oh,
horse.
okay. Oh, yeah.
And yeah, it's just cool that they were able to bring the community into the film. But yeah, the way they left it with the son and the dad building together, and obviously the real clever line, the cliffhanger of you're down here. Guess who else is coming down? Your sister.
Oh,
Yeah.
music stops. What?
We are from the planet Duplo.
We are here to destroy you.
Yeah, it's a really
Yeah,
it's
that's
a
where
really
the
clever
second movie
Yeah.
Picks off from that point.
Okay.
But yeah, very good. I think I enjoy the Toy Story element a bit more than you. I think I don't like this dad at the start, and I feel like the way he changes so quickly
Mm-hmm.
is a bit unrealistic. I feel like if this dad is so set on gluing Lego that he's been preparing to do it for some time, and he has drawers of super glue, and he has this much Lego, it's going to take a bit more than a 5-minute speech to really change his perspective.
Mm.
However, his perspective is so stupid in the first place that it's almost believable that someone can think that Lego is not for being played with, but then all it takes is his son to be like, mate, that's the whole point of Lego. It says ages 8 to 14 on the box. And he's like, oh, that's just a suggestion.
Yeah, I do think that some of the dialogue between them there was really well done.
Yeah.
It's just the delivery of, how they wrote it in terms of, Emmett kind of being the son and then President Business being the dad. I didn't feel like the film needed it, but
Yeah.
It's cool that they were trying something different.
Yeah. I agree with you saying that it's like one of the weakest elements of the entire film.
Mm.
But then, yeah, I still, I don't know, I enjoy the contrast, especially when they're going back in two, and you can see like where the movie's essentially telling you that, like, look, bad guy is this dad, and
Mm-hmm.
Emmett is the mouthpiece for the child.
Yeah.
And so I like that, and I think it was very wholesome. That final speech you said, like, very, very good, very inspiring. Everyone is special. You don't have to be the bad guy. You can change everything. That's what he says to the dad. And he's like, and I don't know. And then the dad changes his perspective, which is nice. They have a nice hug. Then the Lego people hug. It's all very nice, very wholesome. Sort of, a good wrap up. Most animated films, they like to leave you with a wholesome ending.
Yeah.
And I think this delivers that.
One film that is very similar to this, and I feel like they probably could have taken notes from this, is Wreck-It Ralph, which is another favorite animated film of mine. I think that's a real good film. And they did a really good job of the antagonist, or the evil dude, in this case, President Business, becoming the bad guy, and they were able to really nail that story arc in Wreck-It Ralph. And if they'd just taken some of the elements from that film and just put them in this film, I feel like they could have just ended it on possibly the best note that they could have. Yeah, but again, you have issues with people probably saying, oh, that's just a copy, and I'm sure people were like, that's just a copy of Toy Story at the end. I'm interested to see what they would have said about that now, because now that you've brought it up, surely someone's spoken about that.
Yeah, it does seem a bit familiar, especially when he's lying on the table, Emmett's lying on the table, and he's trying to move, and the dad keeps thinking something's moving. I'm like, oh, it's just Toy Story. But then, me, I like Toy Story very much. So, that's probably bound to put it up in my rankings. But overall, if I'm going to rank this film, I'm going to rank it based on the majority of the film, which is incredibly fun, action, adventure, Lego worlds with, it's a visual masterpiece. But yeah, so in terms of the music segment, but before we do that, do you have any other notes you want to cover?
I got one final note.
Go for it.
Obviously, we get the big end credit scene, not end credit, sorry, the end scene where they're all celebrating and everything. I was looking at all of like the characters, and I actually noticed the village people. Now, if you don't know who the village people are, they're the people that sung YMCA, and they're doing like this
Oh,
little dance in the background. So you have the policeman, you have the Native American all like dancing in the background. And
yeah.
such a good attention to detail. I've never noticed it
Oh,
before,
right.
but there you go. You have
That's
the
cool.
YMCA village people.
Just another example of just how much thought
Mm.
and love was sort of put into this movie.
Yeah.
Very similar to Spider-Verse in that respect.
Mm.
You know, all of the references in Spider-Verse
Yeah.
and all of that good stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of devastated that these two guys didn't get to do a Star Wars movie, but oh well.
I look forward to everything that they've done because they've obviously proven that they are some of the best writers and directors working today. They've done 2 fantastic films here.
For sure. And they've been producers on every other Lego movie since.
Nice.
They haven't come back to direct, though. Would like to see them come back for the third one.
Yeah,
That would be
I
nice.
would like to see them direct, yeah.
Music segment. Obviously, we have the main song, which is Everything is Awesome, which was a song that I believe was created for this movie.
Yeah, I think it's an original, yeah.
So we can put that into the rewatch playlist. I also noticed that the music in the final battle was really good. I only noticed it on the rewatch, but I was listening to the music and I was like, oh, this is quite epic, quite uplifting, good stuff. But I couldn't find the official soundtrack, so I won't be able to put that one in. But just know that the music in the
that's
final
what we
battle
were
was
going
good.
to put in. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other pieces of music that stood out to you, or just think it was overall pretty good?
Yeah, I think it was really good. None really stood out to me, and that's probably because I was so immersed in the action and it was just non-stop, so I didn't have time to take a break. But no, it was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, and so with that said, going into the music playlist, the rewatch playlist, a Spotify playlist, we will put Everything is Awesome. It's going in there. If you'd like to listen to it, you can search the rewatch playlist on Spotify and have a listen through there. Final thoughts. I'm going first, right?
Yep, you're going.
Okay. So I think, some words to describe this movie: fun, wholesome, creative. Creative is a big one. That's always something that I look at. No matter what sort of film it is, if it's new, if it's exciting, if it's unique, I'm gonna really, just praise it for being creative. No matter whether they nailed it or not, always got to praise the studio for trying to do something different, right? Trying to give us something new.
Yeah.
Because we live in a time where we get the same movie over and over again. So when we get a creative movie, we have to praise that. It was innovative in terms of the visual element, much like Into the Spider-Verse was. Beautiful visuals, great characters, including Batman. But obviously, I really enjoy Emmett and really enjoy Wildstar as well. Great characters. Definitely more to explore with those two. But yeah, I enjoyed them on the face. I think they were great animated characters. I think this film was a fun ride from start to finish. I watched this earlier in the week, so I've watched this 2 times in probably 3 or 4 days, and I enjoyed this as much on the second time as I did the first time. It didn't get boring for me at all.
That's good.
And I was watching it again. So I think it's an example of a fantastic modern animated film. It's up there with Spider-Verse. I'm going to give it an A+.
A+. Holy moly. Okay. Yeah, no, should I go now or?
Yeah, go for it, bro.
Sweet. No, I think an A+ is it's a very justified rating. But in terms of, an A+ rating for me, it's really the perfect film. I don't see any faults with it. And as you've probably noticed, I do have a fault with this film, and even though it might be a small little thing, it's not a perfect film in my opinion.
Okay.
It is, however, a very, very enjoyable film, and it's probably one of the most enjoyable films that we've done on the podcast thus far. So if I was to recommend it, which I feel like we haven't been doing very often for some reason, if I was to recommend it as a film to watch, I would definitely say go watch this if you haven't. I think it's definitely an animated paragon in a way. It's something different, like you said. It's refreshing, it's new, and it can be enjoyed by all ages. So definitely gets a recommendation from me. But in terms of the technical aspects of the film, excuse me, the dialogue is just fantastic. I mean, all of the lines and all of the one-liners, it's very Jack Sparrow-esque in a way. They all just really hit it on the head. They're perfect. So the dialogue is some of the best I've ever seen from an animated film. The story as well, it like I said, it has a spine. It's very fluent. It's not just a bunch of things being chucked together hoping it works, which you kind of get a lot today with animated films, because they're just directed towards kids, and kids don't really understand what it takes to make like a fluent story and have it all mesh together. But the Lego Movie does it so fantastically. There's little to fault with this film, and honestly, like an A+ rating seems justified. But since the last part of the film just wasn't as good as the start, I'm gonna give it an A,
for sure,
which I think is also a very justified rating.
Yeah, awesome. I have no quarrels with an A rating. And on that subject, do you think, obviously we're drawn to this movie because obviously we grew up playing Lego. Do you think if somebody didn't grow up playing with Lego, they're going to get as much enjoyment as us?
No. Let me just see if I interpreted you right there. If someone wasn't to grow up playing Lego, they would still enjoy this.
Yeah.
I still think
You
they
think
have
so?
the opportunity to enjoy this as much as you and I did.
Oh, so you still think it doesn't matter whether you played with Lego or not?
No.
Okay, cool. I think always, obviously, like this movie makes me very nostalgic, obviously, because it's Lego. But then again, like the nostalgia isn't a huge factor as to why I like it. I like it because it's so funny. It's so fun. But that was a good chat. Great movie. Recommend that to everyone listening. Check that out wherever you can. I'm sure it'll pop up on some streaming services, or you can go out and buy the physical disc and support the film industry. So thank you for listening to this episode of the Rewatch Podcast. If you would like to follow us on Instagram, you can do so at the Rewatch Pod. If you'd like to subscribe to the YouTube channel, just search the Rewatch on YouTube. For our next episode, we're most likely going to be doing the Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars Episode 5. It's going to be a big one. It's going to be a great movie. If you want to watch it with us and then watch the podcast and give us your thoughts, that would be awesome too. But with all that said, thank you for listening, and bye for now.